I'm going to go over my kayak fishing crate. And I realized that I had been recording for about 15 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, but the camera wasn't recording. So we will go over this all over again. Maybe I won't repeat the mistakes I made the first time. So anybody who fishes from a kayak, typically most people have a milk crate that they use for their tackle. Now they make commercial ones and everything, and you can buy those, but I'm cheap and I like doing DIYs, so I made my own. Now the kayak I have is a Field & Stream Eagle Talon. It's a 12-foot kayak. It's a 12-foot sit-on-top kayak. There are others out there, many models, many manufacturers. I'd love to have a native watercraft with a propel drive, but you know, it's a little pricey. I got my kayak for under 400 bucks on sale at Dick's Sporting Goods, and it's probably a good buy for me because I really don't have a good place to store a big kayak. It's in my shed right now, and it'll be coming out. Hopefully, got to do a video on a bed extender and how I'm going to load them up in the vehicles when I go fishing, camping, etc. But now this is about my milk crate, so let's go over that. Now the Eagle Talon 12, the storage compartment is right behind the seat. It's an indentation. It's not like a compartment basically. It's an indentation in the kayak. It's this wide in the back, but it tapers up in the front, almost like a teardrop shape. So the milk crate doesn't fit inside the hole properly. But I fixed that problem with this crate. So I bought two crates, a red one and a black one. Got them at a Goodwill for like $2 or $3, $4 or $5, whatever. It's a solid, heavy plastic commercial milk crate, and I love these things. They're good for everything. I got a stack of them here. If I see one, I buy them. So I cut the bottom off and I made a lid. And we'll get to that in a second. So let's just look at this kayak, how this milk crate. So what I did with mine, as you can see here, I cut this notch out because I figured how far back it would fit in the slot on the kayak. And I cut this little notch out of it, and I flipped it around and zip tied it back in. As you can see there, it's solid here and here. So this part back here fits in the hole, and this sits out on top behind my seat. It fits pretty damn good if you ask me. I couldn't have asked for something better if they made one. I used to have it lashed with 550 cord, but I went back not too long ago and put zip ties on it to hold this little piece in. It's no big thing. It holds it tight. It doesn't hold a lot of weight. On the sides here, I have this elastic cord, this shock cord, or whatever you want to call it, bungee cord, and I have a lash point in the front that just hooks around like a cleat, and I have one in the back. And this carabiner, all this does is give it tension so I can separate the front from the back. See what I'm saying? I have one of those on each side. On the back, I have a fishing rod holder that holds 3 fishing rods. I'm not sure how. I think I have this screwed actually onto here. I'll have to look inside to tell. It might be zip tied or held on with 550 cord as well. Now this is some more of that shock cord. Yeah, I know it's not pretty, it's not perfect, but it works. And what this does is, so I put the rod and reel in this slot. Imagine this is sitting in here like this, and it doesn't matter if it's a bait caster like this one or a spinning reel. It'll sit in there. It'll sit in there just fine. But what you do is when you put it in there, let me get this little, I'll bring it in so you can see. You take this carabiner and you clip it somewhere, and that way if you take a bump or you flip it, this will not, the fishing rod is not going to go anywhere. So anyway, that is what these are for. And there's a rule in kayak fishing or canoe fishing that leash it or lose it, because if it's not tied down with something like these, you're probably going to lose it if you don't leash it. So anyway, that's what those are for. Let me turn this back around. And why do I have 3? Because I normally take 4 or 5 rods with me. Not for any specific reason, but sometimes you have one rigged up with a certain line and for different lures, whether it's a worming rod or a spinning rod with a 7-footer, a drop shot, getting back into weeds, different actions, different kind of line for different lures. If you bass fishermen, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So that's why I take so many fishing poles. I got these 3 on the back, and I also have 2 rod holders on either side of me in the front of the kayak. Hopefully I'll be able to go over to kayak this weekend. It's hot as hell right now, but I want to do an unboxing of a bed extender I have and how I'm going to mount it, and maybe I'll get with the kayak then as well. So this right here, the lid is held on, like I said, back there with 550 cord, and so it acts like a hinge. And this bungee coming up the top here is nothing more than to keep the lid shut. So you just drop that down and you can open the lid. So I normally have one of these rods out of the holder, so I'll just bring this up and keep that open for now. So inside here I got a pair of fish grip pliers. Self-explanatory, catch a fish, clamp that in his mouth, he's not going anywhere, you take your picture, show your friends, he might have teeth, he might not, whatever. This is the easy way to hold the fish without hurting it. Again, what does it have? A leash, because don't forget the leash, don't forget the rule of kayak fishing. Leash it or lose it. And I made this leash here, I should do a video on it, because I used, what this is made from is, this is weed eater line. And I have some plastic rods that are about 6 or 8 inches long with a hole drilled in it at an angle on one, so the hole would be drilled like at an angle. And you take the weed eater line, you poke it through that hole, and you coil it around that piece of plastic real tight. And then there's a hole on the other side you tuck the other freeze line side into, and you drop that into boiling water for about 10 minutes, and you take it out and you put it in some ice water, and it when you take it off, it's already coiled up, and then you reverse coil it. I'm not going to explain all that right now, but it makes it tight, and I made my own leashes for a lot of this stuff that goes in a kayak. So there you go, fish grips. I have a pair of fishing pliers. Again, they come with a leash. How about that? These are just some needle nose, and they have some cutters right there, so you can cut your hooks, line, or whatever. Very handy to have fishing. I have a marker. Now, if you don't know how you can use these markers for a number of things, but the way I use it, if I'm fishing a pond and I find or a lake and I find a deep spot, or I have another one in another box over here that I take and leave it in the vehicle, and I'll show you that too as well. But if I know there's some structure down there, or I see some structure, or I have a depth finder that I take with me, I'll just unravel this. This is a piece of lead right here, and I'll just undo this, and I'll just drop it off the side of the kayak, and this will go down to the bottom. It'll sit there right on top of that structure, and I will know where it is. I can see it, and I will back the kayak off, you know, in casting distance, and I'll fish that structure from all sides. And because, you know, if you do anything in a boat or on the water, you'll know that there's no landmarks on the water, so it's hard to get back to that exact same spot, even with the GPS. It's just difficult. So, but if you throw one of these on top of it, you can always see it. You just go back and pick it up when you're done. Alright, let's start on this side over here. I have a Rapala measuring board. If I can get it open here. There we go. And this is just to measure your fish. Sometimes you want to measure it if you're going to keep them. You can measure your fish so you know if it's a legal catch. There's limits, size limits, slot limits. Or if you're in a tournament, this is to get your picture of your fish and how long it is. That stays in there. I rarely keep anything. I've always kept caught and release, but never know. This is some fish attractant. Do I think it works? No idea. Do I use it? Yeah, I've been known to use it on occasion. So what's in there? This box right here are my spinner baits and my chatter baits. So I have a selection of spinner baits over here. I'll keep a handful of them in here. I'll replenish them if one of them gets damaged. This is actually a buzz bait. That's a topwater rig. But I have, and so is that one right there. So I got 2 buzz baits and 3 or 4 spinner baits in there. These are chatter baits. If you don't know what that is, that's the little metal bit right here. You tie off to this, and like that, and that little thing right there just makes a bunch of noise in the water. A lot of flash, a lot of visual for the fish. And you can put whatever kind of trailer you want on there. This is just have to be some kind of bug. I don't know what they're called. And I have several of those in there with several different types of plastics attached to them. And that's it. So that's a spinner jig box. This is my my terminal tackle. So I've got some on my hooks and weights for worms. I have some bobber keepers right there, and those are good for different kind of worm rigs as well. Let's see, more hooks, some more swivels, some more bobber stops, some different hooks, some weedless hooks, worm hooks, offset hooks, drop shot hooks. Got some drop shot O-rings or some wacky rig O-rings, some more tungsten weights, some more drop shot weights. So just terminal tackle right there. Let's see, here's this is a tray with some plastics in it. Okay, so I just got a multitude of plastic baits in here. These are the ones I use on my wacky rigs and my jigs on this side. Just a bunch of different types of worms, tube baits. I don't know why I've only got one. Normally I got more. Different worms over here. This is a tool. Actually, in the video I made when I wasn't recording, I used it. So basically what you do is you load all your O-rings up on this side, and when you get ready to use one, you just push it down like this, and you take, this is a Yamamoto wacky worm I think, and you just slide it in there like that, and you can see there's already an O-ring on there, and you just roll this down on top of the worm. That way, that's an easy way of getting it on the worm, and then now your O-ring's on there, and you can put the hook through and go to town and slay some fish, right? So this is my plastics tray, and this changes just like anything else does. Let's see here, I think this is my jig box. Yep, so in here I just got a bunch of different types of jigs, different size and weights of jig heads that I have in here. This feels like about an eighth of or a half an ounce. That's another half. These are big, these are half-ounce weights. That's to get it down to the bottom quick. Different types of heads, some are weedless, some are football heads. Anyway, this is my jig box, and I got mostly jigs in here. I got jig heads, weights, rattles. I got some of these other jigs, some more jigs over here. Can never have too many fishing lures. All you bass fishermen out there know what I'm talking about, right? You can't go out there with just 2 or 3 lures, can you? Sometimes I wish I could. Let's see here, this is just a few crankbaits. I'm not a big crankbait fan, but they have their place. Now, this actually needs to be in another container, but I'll leave it in there. No, actually I'll move it because I got to talk to you about that. But this is some shallow running crankbaits. I've got a bunch of other crankbaits, and I'll put a picture of the mess, 2 pictures of a big mess of lures, fishing lures that I have. You'll be amazed. I inherited this from my father. He's still living, but he just, he's 80 years old, so he really doesn't get out and fish anymore. And he's still got stuff down there that I'll probably pick up because neither one of my brothers fish. So this lure, now see this logo right here. There's a gentleman. He's passed away not too long ago, and his name was Skip Bertram, and he owned this company called Clatterbrat Lures. And he made these by hand, and this is a tiger rat, I think is what this one's called. It's got rattles in it, super strong eagle claw hooks. All the materials and in this lure were made in America by American workers. That was one of the claims he made to all his lures he made. So he made this one, and these are perfect. When you throw them in the water, no matter what you do with them, they land floating just like that. So when a bass hits them, you get a roof of the mouth hook set, and it's in there when it sets in the roof of the mouth. So this is just a frog, a plastic frog. That's a frog. This is another lure that he made. He made this one. I have some more somewhere upstairs, I think, still in the box. And these 2 down here are the same. These are Death Dealer Barks is what these are called, this style. And if you notice, this one is green flake and gold flake, and this is red, gold, and red flake. These were his Christmas barts, and I bought a set of the Christmas barts, the red and the green colors. This one, I just asked him to use his imagination and make me one, so he did that. Great guy, patriot, Christian. He just made all these lures, and so I'm proud to have him, and I hope the best for his family. And he made all this at his house. So these are my topwater lures, and that's all I have in there. So I do have other stuff that goes in the kayak with me that's not part of my tackle. Obviously I didn't go over to fishing poles or anything like that. They're stowed up, tied up right now, and it's hard to get all that in this big of an area for the camera, but maybe when I load up the kayak and get it all set up with my seat and my fish finder and everything, I can go over that. So yeah, that's my setup for the tackle. Maybe in the next video I'll also show you a box that I take with additional tackle so I can replenish the stuff in here, or I will take stuff out of here and swap it out, because every pond and lake is different. You have to read it, you have to know what lures are going to work, what colors of lures. And I got a battery box, my fish finder and a battery, and I was going to show you how I hook all that up. So anyway, that's just it for the tackle in my milk crate. And more to come on fishing stuff. So you guys be safe, stay cool, and stay hydrated out there in the heat. So talk to y'all later.